Hello, this is David Coreen with Davron Staffing. Welcome to another Boolean search session. Joining me today is headhunter extraordinaire, recruiter Jeremy Jacobs. Jeremy, how are you?
Doing great, David. How about you?
People don't know this, but you grew up in martial arts. Jeremy, didn't you? Tell me a little bit about that before we get started with all that Boolean stuff.
Well, my dad's owned a karate school since before I was born, so I grew up teaching a few different styles of martial arts. We did karate, we did jujitsu, but he used to train pro kickboxers, so that was where I really started to enjoy it. Was perfecting the finer sciences of
Well,
boxing and kickboxing at the competitive level. That was always more fun, so I like that.
Well, Jeremy's competitive for sure. We like to watch videos on YouTube of men beating on each other.
Absolutely.
But in this case, we're going to beat on this job description, job order, and we're going to execute a Boolean search on Monster, this time for one of our clients that is what looks to be looking for a lead mold maker. Is that what in the world is that, Jeremy? What's a lead mold maker?
In the manufacturing industry, one of the techniques that they have for fabricating parts or an assembly is called plastic injection molding. Now, you can use injection molding with various polymers and metals, but this specific company, they use plastic injection molding heavily. So they're looking for somebody who has experience creating the mold. So defining the shape that this mold is going to be in, performing the tooling necessary to get its measurements within the desired parameters. And then, of course, that goes on to be used in production. They put the materials through, and that plastic comes out molded in a shape that they can then use as a part of the assembly, as a part that could be marketed. Perhaps it depends. It's all various uses and various markets that they serve. So
Phenomenal. You got a really good grasp on what exactly it is, the core nature of what our client is looking for. Obviously, this client retained us, so we're not looking to put out there who exactly we're looking for. Smart enough, you'll figure it out. But the purpose of this is really to kind of not only understand, which is critical, but also pick out the keywords in here so that we can execute the search on Monster. In order to execute a search on Monster, you must have access to the Monster database. So we're going to give it a shot here. I believe I'm already logged in. And once you are, obviously, this is more of an advanced search session. So we're assuming that you either have a subscription to this, you're a headhunter yourself, whether you're working for a corporation or a private staffing company like ours. You go to find candidates and they default to Power Resume Search, don't they, Jeremy? What say you about this Power Resume Search as opposed to using the classic resume search, sir?
I would say that Power Resume Search is really only scanning a certain number of the candidates that are on Monster. When somebody goes in to set up their Monster profile, there are additional options that they can select to help them pop up in certain kinds of searches, specifically the Power Search. This is going to search for things that they clicked on or highlighted or defined in their profile when they were making it. So somebody could have the exact experience you're looking for, but when they made their profile, they simply uploaded their resume file, put in their basic contact info, and they were done with it. They got back to work. They're busy.
And
So
it's never going to come up, is it?
it's never going to come up in Power Search. Exactly. So
So
you're
only as
scanning a limited pool.
well, that's right. And again, I think the very important thing to remember is the data is only good as what is being input. And you're absolutely right. You could have just uploaded their resume and said, that's that. Maybe they got busy. Who knows what the deal is? But that's I imagine we have a long-term relationship, as you can imagine, with Monster. They drove this because people really didn't understand how to put together a good Boolean, Jeremy. Now, we don't have that problem. So we're going to go to classic search and we're going to pick this job description apart. Uh, One of the things that we know is the position is located in Two Rivers, Wisconsin. I'll be frank with you, I'm not all that familiar. We're in beautiful Land O'Lakes, Florida. Wisconsin sounds very, very cold to me, Jeremy. I'm not sure how you feel about all that.
I agree. Very cold.
Oh my! Well, I hope they pay him a lot of money to live there and all. Let's take a look. See where we're all fishing.
I was there once as a kid, and I have a vivid memory of my mom dumping water out of a cup in the car, and it froze on the side of the car as we drove by. It was
That
so
is
cold
incredible.
outside.
I've seen those kinds of videos on YouTube. People throwing water out of their balcony, say, and it freezing on the way down.
Yeah.
That is not for me, Jeremy. Apparently not for you either.
No, sir.
And in this case, boy, they're as far north as you can.
Yeah, pretty
Oh,
close
boy.
to Green Bay, actually.
Okay.
Very,
I was
right
going to
there on
say
the
Antarctica. All right. Well, here we go. Maybe the North Pole. Not a. I don't even know what it is. Geographer? Cartographer. All right. We better stick to that engineering staffing and go back. But the point is this. I don't know if we have a very robust population area. We do have Green Bay, Wisconsin. I wouldn't exactly call it the most populous of areas. I don't know if it's rural. Looks like it's a little bit of ways. We do know that it's a very strong manufacturing base.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to go for some low-hanging fruit. We do know from talks to our clients that they are willing to relocate. But when I say low-hanging fruit, I really don't want to go too far away from Two Rivers, Wisconsin. And look, if I was one of them injection lead mold makers and I'm living in Land O'Lakes, Florida, and Jeremy, you called me and you told me to go to Wisconsin, well, you're going to have to fight me to get me to go over there. So it'd be difficult. That's why I think it's very important for us to try to stick to some low-hanging fruit, and hopefully we get real lucky and find some people that are local to that area. And I don't know, man, I think 30 miles seems pretty decent. We're not exactly in the middle of Manhattan where driving is nearly impossible. What do you say, Jeremy? Let's pick out some keywords and how do we put it all together? We've already looked at the client. You have studied their website. You have studied the job description thoroughly. Talk to me a little bit. We have the lead mold maker. Do you find anything in the first bullet point that's actionable, that are possibly things that we could use in our Boolean search string?
My first go-to is injection molding. We could put in injection mold with an asterisk or a star, however you want to call it, at the end. And that is really specific to the environment and the manufacturing process that we're looking for. So it's really going to help us zero in on the correct kind of active professionals. So we could think of this as specifying a process or environment that we're interested in. And then we could add something in from here to go more specific as to their responsibilities or the level of their position. But that's my go-to, I think, for this one is injection mold star.
I love that, and clearly you're a Boolean search expert. Now, we have found this glitch on Monster, so I'm going to keep taking advantage of this little one. I know you know this too, that unfortunately, when you use injection mold with a star and asterisk, and you have to do it that way. Let me see if I can get this a little bit lower. We know for sure it will bring back the right results. Except the problem is, and the glitch within Monster, is that it will not highlight those results the way this will. And let me kind of quickly demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about here. So this is the main search bar. Injection mold star. It's obviously looking for injection next to molding within the quotes. It's not going to look for an asterisk or a star, as Jeremy pointed out. It's obviously going to look for injection mold, injection molding, injection molds, what have you. So you don't have to write out every iteration of it. The glitch within Monster, and I'll say it one more time, unfortunately, it doesn't highlight any of the injection mold within the resume. So we got 57 people here within, was it 30 miles, I think, of that area in Wisconsin.
Correct.
A very cold city, Wisconsin. I don't know if that was the name of it, Jeremy, but it certainly felt that way. So let me kind of demonstrate here for you. I'm old. I like to see these things come up. Where in the world is injection molding? I bet you could find it faster than me. It will not be highlighted. Now, for the people out there, you know what I just hit there. And if you saw that screen come up, I'm going to do it one more time. You can see it right here. That's Control F. The F stands for fine. So if I just write injection, well, I'm doing something wrong here.
Yeah, it's the limit of characters.
No, it's, what am I doing wrong? Inject, hold. Is it not anywhere in there? You think we ought to practice these Boolean search sessions before we actually put this out on the internet, Jeremy? How about we pick another one here? Because I don't know why. Did I mess up the Boolean? No, I did not. I got it in exact quotes. I'm not quite sure why injection molding didn't come up on all that. We're fishing in the right pond here. I bet you it was up on top. It just didn't pick it out. See if we can get this one here. That's Control F. Are we getting any better? Oh, look at that. Injection. But it's not next to the mold. See if we can find the next one. Injection molding is right over here. But unfortunately, it's not highlighted. Okay, well, I really kind of want to go back to the first one. See why in the world it didn't come up. Because, well, like you, I don't want to give up on any of that, Jeremy. Sometimes it's up on top where it doesn't recognize it. I got to tell you, other times, nothing. Zero. I really honestly cannot tell you why in the world it's not coming up. But, well, he's at a steel product company, so fabrication materials certainly lends itself. And here's a manufacturing company here. I don't know if it's a time for us to go through and read up on where that injection molding is. I promise you it is in there somewhere. There's no other way that it would pick that up. Kind of hope I could see injection right over here, but we are going to find injection next to mold. Oh, no, that's inspection. Jeremy, this isn't the best Boolean search session. I think anybody listening to this shit is going to, stop. It's going to, what in the world is going on? Is Monster broken?
Injection molding press. So I don't know why injection didn't pop up.
Why is it not finding it in here? Yeah. That's the curious part of it all for me.
It may have something to do with the way that they uploaded their resume. If it's an image file,
that's exactly it. Like it is recognizing it and it is finding it, except for whatever reason, it is not able to identify it, which really kind of leads me to the next thought on this. Okay, if we kind of change it to, let's go with parentheses because I'm sure we're going to be adding more stuff to our Boolean. Injection molding or I know it would pick it up, and it has. Any other way of saying that? Injection molds? Injection mold? Injection molding?
Plastic injection?
We'll get specific to that, but I kind of do want to capture all of these. Let's see. Let's see if we get this one here. We'll go with because I want to add what you just said, but really I want to kind of keep exploring the further extrapolation of this one here. See if we get the same kind of results. There may be an extra one or two in there. Again, you can modify the search right from here. We had 57 candidates before. See if we get pretty close. All right, some people, some other extra versions of it. Well, this guy came up first. We couldn't find why he had injection molding in it, right?
Right.
Well, what were we missing? It's still not in. Oh, there it is.
Injection molding machines. So
okay.
He's managing, running 28 mold injection presses. See, that may be another version that we can reiterate. Injection presses rather than injection molding, because that's just another term for the machine that they put the mold on, that the mold operates in to help form the things.
Do we add that in there? Do we put in or? It's good recruiting or injection.
I think we make note of it for now. We look through the 46 that we have here, see what the rest of the pool looks like, and then if we need to widen or modify, we can. But right now, I think we're getting closer to what we really want just with these three. So I think it's worthwhile to continue. I still think that this guy, the first one that keeps popping up, is probably not a great fit. He's a little more senior than what we're looking for.
Understood. Well, and the purpose of this session isn't so much to, for us to be identifying exactly who it is, going through it.
Mm-hmm.
You, on your own accord, further will discern the resume, but of course, even more importantly, call the candidate. Explain to them why you, as a senior headhunter, as a recruiter, are able to match up his skills to what it is that our client is looking for. But here, and again, the glitch here in Monster, again, I've gone through this with them and told them that it does return the right results. We couldn't quite find it, and I'll tell you another thing, I couldn't even find it in the Control F function. But as you can see, whether it's an image file, Jeremy, I think you're right. I think that's why it's not picking it up. It's just looking at it as an image. This is not an image file. So here's the injection molding right here. Comes up. I wish that they would make it highlightable, but they haven't. I'm going to stop talking about that. So, okay. We have an okay representation here. Let's pretend we're going to stick with this one. There's a few more when we use the asterisk. Let's go back here. I agree with you. Injection molding is certainly a good one. Other things, but injection molding seems like pretty good. Well, you got repair, enhance, maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
You're a lead mold maker.
I would say that design or fabrication could be strong choices because we are looking for somebody who has that experience in making the mold, putting that part together, making sure that all the specifications and the limits are there. There's a good deal of tooling and fabrication to be performed on the mold itself before it's ready for production. So we could possibly get closer by adding in repair, enhance, and something along the lines of design or fabricate in relation to the molds themselves.
Agreed. So going back here, we have, again, just general things. Repair, enhance. I heard you say the word maintenance. Again, here you've got, well, we already have injection molding, so the word mold appears in there. But again, mold repair. What about things like that actually exist in a manufacturing environment that make the finished product? Things like, you have the operating tool room,
Mm-hmm.
and then the lathes, the grinders, the mills. Is that something to put in there?
Absolutely, specifically because we are looking for somebody with that production and fabrication experience for the molds. All of these tools here can be used in addition to those molds on a product or in making the mold itself. So it's definitely got a great chance of helping you bring back people that you are looking for in this case.
Understood. Some of this stuff, like we got injection molding, we know we're looking for somebody like that. We also know that the position itself, and again, I'm just going to highlight this. I'm not suggesting we're going to use this in our actual Boolean, but we got a mold maker, a lead mold maker, really is what they're looking for. Somebody that has made these molds, somebody that can step in, not only make them, but make sure that the other people involved are making them properly as well. Tell me this. I don't know how common this is or not, Jeremy, and maybe we look this up, but what about a mold making journeyman? If you got somebody that is a mold making journeyman, I mean, that's like the doctor of mold making, isn't it?
Yep.
How many of these people are around? I already know you know the answer. Not that many, I think, right?
It depends on the area, but since we're looking specifically here in the Two Rivers, Manitowoc area, it's going to be pretty limited, of course. It's not one of the largest apprenticeships that there is still around and active.
It's a dying art, isn't it?
I would not necessarily say dying. I think it's definitely going to see a resurgence. Manufacturing is definitely picking up, so it
I love
could
it.
definitely be great if somebody's looking for a vocational thing to reach for. A lot of growth potential there in that field, but it's definitely not as common as some of the other ones that I've seen.
You know, Jeremy, on a personal standpoint, I completely agree with you. I think that blue collar, skilled trade work just like this is actually a great bastion in our employment world, where a man can actually make a decent living and gain a good skill set here. In this case, I'm curious, and you're right. I hope it is not a dying breed. There's not a lot of them around, but I hope there are more of them that come about. So I'm going to modify this search here. We can always go back to our first few. Let's pretend I get rid of all of this. Mold making journeyman. Are there any that are within 30 miles of our client? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
There are. Let's take a look. 0. What?
Now, I kind of expected this only because that's not the only way that it's written as far as you list your credentials. They could write certified apprentice or certificate of completed apprenticeship in mold making.
What about the journeyman mold maker right here?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Well, best journeyman mold maker is the other way to say that.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that very interesting. So, or It was journeyman mold maker. So, and again, I mean, really capitalization to make any difference, but for stylistic purposes, mold making journeyman. But I find it interesting that our own client doesn't quite define it the way that we see it, at least the way Google puts it up first go around. Let's take a look. I think part of executing good Boolean searches, constantly testing yourself, constantly testing the results that you get. So, again, you will notice for the basic, those are just starting with Boolean searches. Jeremy, please explain to anybody listening, and I'm going to go back over here. Why am I putting mold making journeyman in quotes just like that over here? And why am I putting journeyman mold maker rather, but in quotes as well? What does the quotes do for those sentences?
It's going to help highlight those words for us, regardless of the order that they're appearing in here. In this case, one is spelled a little bit differently, maker, making. So we're getting a couple different versions captured of the same credentials. And really, the way that those can be listed on resumes is kind of up to the author. Depending on what year you went through the program, what region you went through it, it may have been a little bit different looking certificate. You may have understood your title differently based on that certification. So it can definitely appear different ways.
But it has to appear as either in the exact order. And you said it has to group the words together. Mold making journeyman or journeyman mold maker in that exact order. Or as you were talking, I just got an extra idea, mold maker journeyman. Well, we had 0 on our first go around, so we obviously didn't like that.
Yeah.
And part of good recruiting is not only testing it, but what are we going to do next? Let's take a look, see what we get.
We're going to have an extra quotation at the end.
Yes, we are. That's why you can beat on people much better than me, able to spot those little differences. I think I got it right this time around. We're still within 30 miles of very cold city, Wisconsin. I'm sorry to keep saying that. It's lovely over there during the summer, though, Jeremy, I hear.
Great fishing. They're right on Lake Michigan.
I'm sure it actually gets up all the way to like 30 degrees at one point during the height of noon. Well, we only got one of these guys, Jeremy, and that's it. Or at least over here. So let's see. Maybe we go out a little bit further. I don't know. Maybe it's not something that we look for. It did say it's something that they prefer. Well, it's a pretty big company, Manitowoc Crane Company. And they actually own the city of Manitowoc. I don't know if you knew that, Jeremy, or not.
I was not aware.
But that's right. The CEO is the mayor as well. It's capitalism, Jeremy.
Mold maker journeyman.
Mold maker journeyman. It's interesting to me. Look at how it was because of your idea that you this guy wouldn't have been found, the one guy, if I didn't really get that idea sparked by you a minute ago or two, Jeremy, by kind of saying it just depends on how they write it. Here's a perfect example of why it's so important. Constantly revise, change, look at your Booleans. I got to tell you, I don't know. Maybe this guy's our guy. It looks like we might have clicked on him before, or we clicked on him earlier. I mean,
I think this is another. I think this is going to direct us to our next Boolean revision. Actually, if you go down at the bottom, he was doing this at the Wisconsin Aluminum Foundry, so he's making aluminum molds.
Understood.
So now we have these various iterations of the licensure for mold making, but we haven't necessarily specified which apprenticeship, because you could be an aluminum mold apprentice, you could be working with metal molds. I think it is very specific to the plastic injection molding industry that we need to be focused. So we could add in all the different versions of that licensure that we like, but I would think that specifying plastics at the end might help us narrow in. And we still may not find anybody in this area. We may have to broaden the distance of the search.
Right.
We may have to focus on relocation. That just may be what's in the region. But I think that it would help eliminate that false positive because he had the experience. It was just with slightly different materials, something that would not necessarily apply for this position.
Well, and there's obviously different kinds of ways for us to go. So I'm going to try to piggyback off of this thought over here that Jeremy just had. And again, I think that is one of the ways that we could further even extrapolate all of this, Jeremy, and revise it even further, is break down mold making or mold maker or whatever and journeyman and put that together. If they got mold making and they got the word journeyman, maybe that's the way to go.
I think if they have the word apprenticeship in there, mold apprenticeship, mold making apprenticeship, I think that's worth talking to as well. I think that's worth pursuing. That's going to lead us in the right direction. Yeah, that was exactly my thought. Just add plastic at the end, something that is.
Well, obviously, we only got one of these guys that are local.
Mm-hmm.
We can do a couple of different things. I think one thing we could do is we could just go and, again, I'm going to kind of skip ahead, but it feels like it's going to start going into this direction here.
Mm.
We only got one guy that's a mold making journeyman. So unless we start breaking that up, mold making, and put in the word journeyman somewhere up in there, I don't know, maybe this is a thought for us as well, and maybe that's the way to do it. And just if they got the word journeyman, doesn't matter, mold making, all that. We got injection molding in there. You got some thoughts, Jeremy?
Great
Go ahead.
spot for us to put apprentice as well, and journeyman or apprentice, because they may be halfway through their program. They may would not list that they are a journeyman mold maker, but it may say at the bottom, completed apprenticeship in mold making.
So, in this case, to capture what Jeremy had to say, now it's apprentice or apprenticeship. So, in this case, it will highlight it because it's not, don't do that to me, monster. I didn't do that on purpose. Okay, apprentice. And that's going to return an apprenticeship.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Land O'Lakes, folks, so if you can't understand me, yeah, sorry about all that. Okay, so and I'm making fun of that cold city in Wisconsin. What is the name of that city? I better get it right. Two Rivers. They both freeze over, Jeremy.
That's right.
During the winter, I guarantee all that. It's cold over there. And I think that's kind of like the evolution, and it starts evolving. Now, I don't think we ever pulled off number 4 in here, did we?
No, sir. That was where we started evolving there. We
Let's take a look.
Got 3 thoughts from it.
We know we're not going to get anybody, Jeremy, that's really close on here. Well, we couldn't find anybody that had the actual experience here. So let's modify the search. And look, let's kind of face it. If we only got journeyman mold makers and the like, there's only 3 of them, and within 30 miles, if we add more words to it, we're not going to find more of them. And in this case, let's kind of, let me go to the screen where it's easier for us to see. What do we got here? And let's kind of make sure that we understand for the people that are new to Boolean search execution. Mold making journeyman has to appear in those words in that order, or in that order, journeyman mold maker, or mold maker journeyman in that order. Jeremy, you already pointed that out. Now I'm putting in parentheses. So here's the first thought. It's got to have one of these 3 throughout the resume. And here's the next thought in parentheses. Blocks it all off, doesn't it? It's got to have one of those 3. It's got to have one of these 3. It's got to have one of the 3. And hopefully every one of these resumes has the word plastic in it. And you're right. There is a big difference, right, between plastic injection molding as opposed to, I think you pointed out, steel, aluminum. And
Yep, steel, aluminum, various. I mean, when it comes to plastics and metals, you got polymers, you got alloys. It could be a number of things.
Fair enough. So in this particular case, we know for a fact that our client specifically is looking for a plastic injection. Does it say plastic? Did it say plastic somewhere
Yes,
up in here? Where does it say
plastic
that?
injection molding.
Where? Maintenance. Does it?
It
You
should.
just know because you were looking at it.
Yes.
It should, because all right. Well, we know that because you looked at the company's website. And actually, it's kind of interesting to me because a lot of clients, when they write their job description, they miss out on key certain words. I mean, here's one perfect example. They call them mold making journeymen. We know they're basically called journeyman mold makers, and we're breaking that all apart. So let's see what we get. We started with injection mold. We know the glitch on monster. Extrapolated it further. Now we're looking at some more things. Didn't really get anything out of number 3, did we? Number 4, we're going to keep piggybacking off of all that. I think I got that whole thing in there.
Yes, sir.
We know we're not going to get anybody within 30 miles. The result will be a 1 or 0. See what we get. Okay. So if we want to see who do we get, well, shoot, let's go out 200 miles. I mean, do these people even exist, Jeremy, the way that we got it? Look at that.
There we are, 15. Tooling engineer, North Michigan Tool and Design.
These guys look pretty much on point.
They do.
Yes, they do. Just at first glance.
Yeah.
We have, go ahead.
CNC programmer, cutting tool specialist. That all is potentially related to what we're looking for. So
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this
Now,
feels very close already.
It does. Now, and again, I don't know if a director of operations is the right guy or not, but here you got a lead journeyman as standard tool and die. That to me looks like a score.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things I think you noticed, Jeremy, I'm going to go back to modified search here. We got 15 people within 200 miles, but one of the things I think that you noticed, it defaults to just a month. Now, you tell me here, and I'll go back to the results screen. The past month, who all posted up there that has that experience? Just 3. Now, obviously they just posted it. Okay, so that's all fine and good. But I think we moved quite a bit further down. It has been a few years since the one that you seemed at first blush to like the most.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that good recruiters contact. Those are the ones that hadn't been contacted in a while because Monster defaults to cutting it all off within a month or so. So by going back further and looking at guys that are lead journeymen and the like, so again, the purpose of this exercise is not so much to identify the perfect candidate for our client, but more to show how all that Boolean stuff works. Here we've got some highlighted stuff. Journeyman mold maker. I'm curious. Mold making journeyman. This one turned out to be in the middle.
Yep.
Isn't that something I actually kind of look forward to? Our next results, where we have the word journeyman somewhere up in there and all those other things. I think we'll get some nice results here, Jeremy.
It's been a good productive evolution of this Boolean.
Well, it is. And here we've got some injection molding. Here's what he does. He's got some references. Journeyman tool die maker. Lead journeyman tool and die maker. I have to assume, does Monster recognize wildcard asterisk operators ever? Because we do have the word plastic somewhere up in there, do we not, Jeremy?
Mm-hmm.
Why is plastics highlighted in here? We know it is in there. It has to be. So it's identifying it, but maybe what is happening here? Well, it's not going to come up with plastic. That's a shame. It is in there. We know that it is.
We just saw it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to read through his entire resume right now, but it is a glitch within Monster, clearly, where it is not recognizing the wildcard operators for whatever reason. Before I get all raw on Monster, let me just make sure that word plastic is in there, but I think that it is. It's right there. Even without it being in quotes, it looks like the glitch is really not showing up. Let's take a look, see if we can find somebody in here. Here's a plastic inject. Here's a
mold maker apprenticeship, Michigan Department of Labor.
That's right. And here's the word plat. Now this time it does come up, and it actually highlights both the plastic and plastics. And here's a molding and tooling manager. So it feels like the search is just right.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't lend a lot of credence to when they posted their resume, even though these guys just did it. This guy says he will relocate. This guy says he won't relocate. I know you don't lend a lot of credence to all that either, I'm sure. If he is worthy of your phone call, once you assess that and you make a decision to call him or not, I think it's worth running an idea by him anyway. That's just standard old school basic recruiting. So good. Well, let's move on. We know that, we know we got a lot of people that have injection molding, and we know we have people that have plastics. I mean, here, and we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we're on Boolean number 5. You can modify the search, and let's modify the search, get reacclimated with what exactly we had up here, Jerry. And we're within 200 miles. It's going to return a lot of people, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Let's tighten it up for some low-hanging fruit. It's 2 Rivers, Wisconsin, but it is cold either way, Jeremy, as it turns out. So 30 miles away, we're looking at every single resume, and we got 27 people. This guy keeps coming up, Leonard Dampier. Now, one of you might have noticed, I don't really click over here. You notice that I click over here, and it brings up a new window. And the reason I do that is this. There's another small glitch within Monster. Sometimes if I click on here and it just kind of takes it away, and then I go back to here, they reorder these results. By the way, this is another important thing, Jeremy. I know you already have this. The minute somebody starts over here as a headhunter at Davron, Monster defaults it to relevance. They list the people that they think are going to be the best ones. Well, that's why we operate with Booleans. So just because somebody wrote the word injection molding or the word plastic a million times in their resume, and that's why they're going to come up, doesn't make them the best person. I always put it up by resume updated. That way I want to see who put it up there most recently and all the way down to the bottom. Here, I think we've got a fairly robust result within 30 miles. Here, engineering interns got some injection molding, but his basics looks a little bit light. I don't know if your client can or cannot use him. Certainly within 30 miles, maybe he's reasonably part of that person. She, I'm not sure. Joshua, I imagine a he. I better be real careful here, Jeremy. You never know in today's world. Gender fluidity. I never even knew what gender fluid was until recently, by the way. Let's be quiet about that. Not the time to digress. But we are going to try Boolean number 6. See how the evolution of all that works. And Jeremy, what are we capturing here? Talk to me a little bit about this Boolean. Why are we putting it together? How does that all sum up and kind of get us over here?
Well, if you start with number 4, we have the journeyman or injection molding and then plastics. 3 separate thoughts.
That's right.
But because there's so much to that Boolean, there's so many words included, it can be a little bit exclusive, right? So then with 5 and 6, we worked backwards a little bit, started with that second thought there on the injection molding. And we added plastic, the final thought, and then added in some shorter versions of journeyman or apprenticeship to capture those if they do appear. So this is a more inclusive Boolean because we're focusing more on the basics of that environment and the experience being injection mold, injection molding, plastic, or journeyman or apprenticeship. So it's a more refined version that's going to be a little more open-ended. So with a range like 200 miles, it will bring back every possible result that is in Monster actively right now.
Exactly. And maybe they don't have, and we've seen 3 different iterations of it. We've seen Journeyman Mold Maker. We've seen, well, your idea kind of set off me writing down Mold Maker Journeyman. We have not yet seen in resumes, I don't think, the way that our client wrote it, Mold Making Journeyman.
Right.
Which is interesting to me. I am Mold Maker, Mold Making. Even over here in our initial Boolean thought, lead, Mold Maker, you're exactly right. Mold Making Journeyman, you're exactly right. We have the word journeyman in here. We have the word injection molding. It seems like something really important for our client. And we have the word plastic, and that's part of it too.
Help specify the industry, specify the materials.
Exactly. I mean, look, I imagine that there is a big difference between molding plastics versus molding aluminum or molding metal products. So we're not here to convince our clients that really they need to be more flexible. We're really here to find the best possible match. I know ideally they're not really looking to relocate, although they will. I'm going to start brand new by hitting modify search. I'm going to get rid of this. And let me kind of go back here and we got this search over here. Injection. The first thought is Jeremy phrased it. It has to be within the injection mold field. They have to appear in that exact same order. Can I put injection mold asterisk? I can. We did that over on top. Doesn't highlight the results. I'm old and I want to see them in yellow right away. Next is and plastics. We know that does highlight it, hopefully. And finally, Jeremy's thought. Let's just kind of break it up. An apprenticeship or a journeyman on your way to becoming a journeyman as an apprentice. All good stuff. All things that may capture the sentiment and the kind of person that our client is looking for. Again, we've modified the search. Paste that in there. We're looking at 30 miles away. This is some low-hanging fruit. See if we get anybody here that's kind of close. Jeremy, I bet 1 or 2 make them at 1.
We've
Jerry
seen him
Schmidt.
on a couple of our searches.
Yes,
before.
we have. You're exactly right. I mean, he likes tooling so much that he actually wrote tooling as part of his name. His name is really Gerald Schmidt Tooling.
Schmidt Tooling.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeremy.
He's not a tool, though. Jeremy. Journeyman and apprenticeship. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Associates in mechanical engineering. Great. Illinois Central College. Plastic injection mold design.
Right there, we hit all 3 thoughts. Journeyman or apprenticeship, plastic, injection molding.
I think one of the thoughts that you had was their experience in designing these. We don't have it in our Boolean, but it is part of it. And then some of the other things, and again, we don't have it in our Boolean, but I could have sworn I saw lathes or mills.
Mm-hmm.
Horizontal mills, and here's a lathe.
He's casting the design for the mounting of the gears. So he's making a little bracket or a little system that's going to hold these gears in place So he's using these mills and lathes to refine that metal piece down to the proper limits and the proper tolerances, which is exactly what they do when they're making these molds. You pointed out the difference between aluminum and plastic. It's going to have different tolerances built in, different limitations. So by looking for these kind of things, we are definitely finding experience that is very relatable and near zeroing in on the right guy.
All right. Well, this guy's got lots of plastic molding. He's got some. It seems like he's got the right experience. Only 6 miles away from the company.
Mm-hmm.
Posted about a year ago, which is nothing. But in this particular case, and it does look like a Boolean's returning the right people. Look like some other Booleans return the right people. How about we go out just a little bit further? We'll go out 200 miles. Now, there's a few different ways to do. You can actually look
In all.
we bought all of the United States, so we could see how many people have this kind of background. We got over 1,000 of them, so that's way too much, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going to be looking through all that. I'm going to remodify our search. We should go back to that zip code stuff.
Take out, yeah.
I did. Let's see here. We are looking at
54241.
Oh, how could I forget? Two Rivers.
54241.
5. Wait, I messed that up. 5. What is it?
54241.
It is that.
It is
Oh,
that.
it is that. All right. Well, that 54241. Oh my God, that's why you were a kickboxing champion, dog. Get out of your way.
Not. Don't insinuate that.
Well, look, anybody listening to this, Jeremy puts out a challenge right now. Come take him up. You didn't do that, did you? Well, that's what I heard. We got 200 miles, Jeremy, and 255 candidates. Way too little. Oh, it's way too much. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what we get. I mean, within 30 miles, it's crazy because you're in this middle of nowhere. That's where your client is. That's where you messed up. But you know what? The truth is this. We get contacted by clients that are in populous areas, and that has its own challenges, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's in Manhattan, we know people that refuse to commute in there, and that becomes its own challenge, doesn't it?
Yep.
And I heard that making about $400,000 is like minimum wage in Manhattan, so that has its own challenges too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please rent me a 1-bedroom walk-up that's roach infested for about $4,000 a month.
The more densely populated your area is, the more difficult it's going to be to live near the good work for you, depending on your salary, where you're at in your career. So, yeah, being in that populous area is not always a good thing.
Terrible, Jeremy. If you ever want to see what happens when society builds one on top of each other,
exactly.
It doesn't look all that good, but look, we have a lot of business from New York. It's a great place to visit. And actually,
great pizza there. I mean, come on.
You better strike that. Our New York clients listen to this from the record. We love New York. I'll be up there in a minute. But going back over here, I believe that I am pretending within about 50 miles or so, give or take. Well, maybe not. Why are these?
I believe you're within
going?
100 miles.
Is it 100?
I don't know why he's popping up at 126 though.
Well, that's Monster and that's their glitch.
Yeah, Monster does do that sometimes. People beyond the mileage you specify will pop up, and I'm not entirely sure why, but I have noticed that recently.
Maybe they're looking to add extra results to their results, but nonetheless, I imagine that if they're 110 or 126 miles, yet they look perfect, you're going to call these guys anyway. It's just good recruiting.
Absolutely.
Mold making apprenticeships certificate, a tool to die one.
Certificate.
Well, Port City Plastics, he's supervising and training the tool room personnel. This is a score, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That he looks about right for what our client is looking for. Connor Kilpatrick. Take a peek at him real quick. And these are people that, again, in chronological order from when they posted to when they didn't. Excuse me. Exactly.
Journeyman. And that is related to plastic injection molding. It's just a different title, a little bit different specialization within the apprenticeship.
That's right. And it looks like we're pretty much on point with some of these Booleans that we're coming up with. Now, I'll click on one more just to illustrate our point here. Shouldn't have clicked on that guy, Jeremy. I don't see any yellow.
There it is.
Stop when I... Oh, there it is. Right.
Complex injection mold, die cast, and metal stamping.
These are all things that we know that we look for. We're not going to put in lathes, mills, and the like, but if you want to put in lathes, mills, and the like, Is there a right Boolean? I think that there are bad Booleans, but I think there are many ways, as we saw, to get to these people, Jeremy. And a lot of these guys just kept popping up over and over and over again that have the right keywords. But we know through this apprenticeship over here, I don't know if it quite works that way. Here you served as an apprentice, so sometimes you get those false positives. Hobbies, home improvement, and hiking. Favorite sport is baseball. It's great. Yeah, puts a little bit of personality into all of that. Neil Bond, good for him. Your favorite pastime is underground fighting, right, Jeremy? No,
Yeah.
you do not talk about the fight.
That's the first rule, second rule, third rule.
I gave it all
You
up.
keep getting in trouble.
Sorry about that. Well, that's why I'm not a part of all that.
I talked about you at the last
sorry,
meeting.
I'm going to be quiet. So I think that it was a good lesson. I think that we got a lot of different things out of it here.
I think it really drives home the importance for a recruiter to be discerning enough to not only do a power search, but take a crack at the classic searches as well. It may take a couple iterations, but if you write out your evolution of the Boolean like we have, it's very easy to see. I think easy to see after being trained here and showing how to do it. It's very logical which pieces you should connect to help refine your search. As long as you've done the research on your client, you know their company, you know their product, and you know who they're looking for, you know what's important to them, you can take these pieces and move them around and have 3 or 4 great searches that you can find good options with. But it's all about, divvying up your time and not just being focused on finding that low-hanging fruit right away, because it's about the data. Like you said, it's only as good as what's put in. So if the best mold maker in the world simply uploaded a PDF file and his phone number and didn't put in any more finer details as far as the options that Monster provides, I don't want to miss that option because I just started with a power search.
Let me kind of exactly demonstrate what Jeremy's talking about. Most people just upload their resume and that's it. Now, in this case, there's no title. In this case, there is no title. But here, this guy calls himself a designer. So if you are looking for something like mold maker, injection molding, or something like that in here, right in this search bar here, this guy would not have shown up. Neither would this guy. Neither would this guy. In fact, anybody didn't take the time. Now, this guy filled it out. But if you can tell here, very few people actually fill out their title. Mm-hmm. I would guess what? 1 out of 5, maybe it looks like. Jeremy, we're on a little bit of a roll here with people filling out their title, but
I would also add that nearly all of those titles are outdated. They're not going to be from the most recent position
that's right,
in almost any case. So it's kind of a false positive. They may have been that, and that title may be exactly what you're looking for, but they may have done that 10 years ago. They may be in a completely different industry and just popping up because that title appeared when they first uploaded their Monster profile, and they never updated that aspect.
Only information that you can get by being in the trenches, being chiseled by executing these Boolean searches, discerning, reading resumes, seeing the kind of results, racking them all up, and going back to it and correcting yourself. So, if y'all want to engage Jeremy, I call him Cheetah, by the way. If you look on our website, you'll see why. It'll mess you up. It looks like a cheetah. That's why I said that. So, for underground fighting, or to retain Jeremy or Davron for your engineering searches, or to execute Booleans, we provide consulting services, traditional staffing services. Please visit us on our website, davron.net. Our number is 813-961-6632. Jeremy, if somebody wants to call you directly, how do they do that? What's your extension?
Extension 35.
35. Okay, so 813-961-6632. Extension 35 is the secret Fight Club extension for Davron. Is that right, Jeremy?
That's right. Call me for all your bookings. If you want to know where we're meeting this week, give me a ring.
I really appreciate these sessions. I hope the people listening to it got something out of it. Please visit our website. We focus on engineering professionals. I think we're really good at knowing what it is that engineers, technical professionals, architects, construction professionals, manufacturing companies do. Obviously, Cheetah Jeremy here is a skilled hunter, a skilled headhunter. I hope y'all got something out of this. Please contact us, 813-961-6632. Extension 35 will get you over to Jeremy Jacobs. He's a senior headhunter, senior recruiter with us. This is David Coreen, senior matchmaker, signing off. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Take care.